All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the debut episode of the Filsinger Games Character Spotlight with Mike and Brock. This is Brock. I'm here with Mike, and we're going to talk about some Filsinger Games stuff.
This is Mike, and we're here with Brock, and we will talk about Filsinger Game stuff.
Yeah, Mike came to me with this idea a couple months ago, I think, and we were just trying to think of some content we could get out there for Filsinger Games. And we thought we would have some fun doing some character spotlights.
Yeah, on the Filsinger game boards, I started doing weekly spotlights, starting with the 2084 set, or 2086. Yeah, 2086, and working my way forward. Just doing one guy a month, one guy a week. What he did in my Fed, belts he's held, feuds, any interesting things he did. And then trying to get other people to talk about what they did and with that same character. And some people had great ideas that they've done with the characters, and I thought doing stuff like this could help new people start off, because not everybody follows the books. They like to create their own storylines. That's one thing that I liked about the game. I didn't have to follow Tom's stories. I could make my own. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was a nerd growing up. I did Dungeons and Dragons and Star Frontiers, where you had to make your own campaigns and missions and stuff. And I was a big fan of wrestlings, and I didn't even know back then it was called booking. I just knew, hey, these are my cards.
Yeah, right. So yeah, how long have you been playing Champions of the Galaxy?
We started playing with a friend of mine, Rob Nadon, and it was about, I'm going to say, just after the first 500 sets. We probably just missed it.
Okay. So late 86, early 87?
Yeah, I'm thinking 86, late 86. Because when we got it, probably about 4 months later, we got Rob actually got a flyer in the mail from Tom advertising Invasion 1.
Okay, cool.
So we were playing, and we had to wait probably, almost half a year before we got Invasion 2.
Cool.
So I think we just missed that 500 print limit.
Yeah, I came in 97. I think the 2107 set was just being released as I was getting into it. So I was catching up from the beginning.
Yeah, I'm still catching up.
Me too.
I played it, and I started, I played with Rob for about 4 years, and we had our own feds that ran side by side.
Okay.
And so the wrestlers would swap back and forth when we got bored of them, or, we tried to keep the feds to a minimum, probably 40 guys. And if it got too much than that, then we'd cut guys. And he was like, I remember the first guy he said, he goes, I really don't like Commander Sam and Atom Blast. My Fed was all bootleg stuff. Mark Ashby sent me probably 50 wrestlers, 60 wrestlers. He made bootleg on his microdot printer.
Yeah.
Sent them all to me. There was no backgrounds on anything, so I had to make and create all the character backgrounds on everybody.
That's what's fun about it.
And so yeah, those were the first guys. I'm like, I'll take Bomb Squad. And they did okay. I think they captured, the minor tag title, which is something they didn't do with Rob. Like he just never had any luck with them. And that's why he just got frustrated with them.
Yeah.
You'd see in the newsletters that, hey, they can, they've won titles for people and this and that. And then you have them and they're like, nope.
That's what's great about the game, is you never know what's going to happen. And the best laid plans don't always work out to your benefit. Sometimes it's all a shoot.
Oh yeah, like with him, I remember Tung Soon was like a 4 or 5 time GWF heavyweight champion, and I wrestled matches with him. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah,
he beat Thanos, Spike. He was just rolling, and I'm like, how is this guy winning? His card's not that good. A +1 finisher, and
yeah. But that was Billy Joe Boxer for me. Yeah, he just wouldn't lose.
I never had anybody like that.
Yeah.
Like I've had guys go on runs. For me, the longest undefeated streak was 16 matches, and that was Mad Jester.
Wow, that's pretty good though.
When he first entered, he He entered, I can't even remember, I think it's 2095 or something like that. He enters. And his first 10 matches, got him a title shot. And then he went on and he won the Intergalaxian title. And, at that point, he's going to lose at some point. And it was, I think, six defenses before he finally lost.
Wow. That's a good run.
Which was pretty good. 6 defenses and, 16 matches before he finally took a loss, which is still a record in my Fed. No one's entered and gone.
Yeah, that's a long run though. That's a good one.
For tag teams, I've had 2 extremely long runs. I had 2 teams go 32-0.
Wow.
Not at the start, but just a streak.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the Gladiators and Titan Power.
Okay.
They both won. I had a super card, and they both won. The Gladiators won the GWF title, and Titan Power won the Intergalaxian title. And for me, a year is 33 cards.
Okay.
I do 10 cards, super card, 10 cards, super card, 10 cards, super card. And they both went, 10-0, defending their titles. And their titles, they were defended every other card. So they went 2.5 years, something along that line before they finally lost. Yeah, because
that's awesome.
And when it was, I noticed they were both 32-0, and I'm like, "Oh, I got a super card coming up. They're going to have a title versus title, my very first ever. Because I didn't mix titles."
Mm-hmm.
And Gladiators beat them. And the next day, the Gladiators show up and say, "We don't want this title. It's actually beneath us, this Intergalaxian." And they just got rid of them. And the very next card, they went against the Blood Brothers and lost their GWF title.
Nice.
So it was just, like I said, it's complete and utter upset.
That's what I love about this game is if the dice are going a certain way, everybody has a chance.
Yep.
The way the game is laid out, anybody has a chance to beat anybody, which is great.
It's all to do with dice rolls, and some people have had luck. Paul Barnes gave me an idea for a tag team, Massive and Pulsar Prime. He called them Power and Glory, just from Paul Roma, Hercules Hernandez.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll give them a try. And they went 27-2.
Wow.
They captured the GWF tag titles. I had a massive GWF tag tournament where every bracket was 2 out of 3 matches. So if you were going to fluke win somebody, you had to do it twice.
Okay.
And they beat the Gladiators in the final, 2-0. They ran through everybody.
I started recently doing the 2 out of 3 for all title matches in my Fed.
Oh, 2 out of 3 pinfalls?
Yeah.
Oh no, this was 2 out of 3 matches.
Okay.
So not just a pinfall, but a match. So you had to beat them two separate times to move on. So it was a year-long tournament.
Okay. That's cool.
It wasn't held over one night. It was a year-long tournament. So I could slowly build up to stuff.
Okay. That's cool.
And that's why I said in the spotlight, the reason I started doing it was because, everybody gets their favorite wrestlers, and some guys push them. And I never pushed even my favorites. I had a point system.
Okay.
So, everybody was ranked 1 through 5 in points, and, most guys are in the 3 section for points because a lot of them are average. But somebody like Creeper, he was 1 point. Santos was 4 points. I only have Chaos and the second Pegasus card, the updated one, are my only 2 5-point cards.
Okay.
Chaos is a monster.
He is.
Matador is a 4-point guy, and and the Spike was a 4-point guy. The Mega Destroyer Spike or Super Destroyer, the second one. But most were in the 3 points, and so if you beat somebody that's 3 points, you get 3 points, and you move up, and you only lose points in title defenses. So if you lose your title matches, then you lose points. Okay. And so if you lose a bunch of them, then you drop. If you're number 1 contender, you get 3 shots. If you lose all 3 matches, you lose 15 points, which means you're dropping near the bottom, and you got to work your way back up.
Makes sense. You had your chance and you blew it. So
yep, and that's where I worked it. So even if I had favorites, it's up to the dice. Like we said we're going to do spotlights tonight. My spotlight is going to be on Massive.
Okay, perfect. Because we're just about 10 minutes into our recording.
And I don't know why I like the guy Massive. I think because I was always the biggest kid growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Even at 14 when I started playing this game, I was in public school, grade 8. I was a 6 foot, 180-pound kid.
Uh-huh.
I was bigger than all my teachers.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. And so I think that's why I related to Massive. He was just a big friendly. To me, he was the friendly giant.
Yeah, totally.
And so with him, I think when I first started playing with Rob, we teamed him up with Commander Sam.
Okay.
We just called him FDF,
Mm-hmm.
the Federation Defense Fighters. And they won the GWF tag titles with Rob. And I remember in one match, Commander Sam got hurt just before the match. They got attacked. We had this chart we had made up. And so Massive had to go and defend the titles against the Annie-Man.
Okay.
And he beat them.
Wow.
And Rob was so mad. He was like, no, he goes, one guy's not defeating,
he's a giant
with the tag team finisher. And I'm like, he's the giant. He was like, and Tom never gave heights and weights for anybody back then.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think I put Massive down at like 6'11", 350 pounds. He was just a big man.
Yeah.
But he was agile. He was a -4 power, 0 agility. I think it was A rings, A turnbuckle, C ropes, and B death jump.
I'm going to try and pull up their official height and weight on COTG online here.
And Massive defense, I think he had 4 comebacks on level 1 and 3 on level 2.
Yeah, he was the only one that was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most you would see was 2, I think, on level 2.
And his issue was he couldn't keep anybody down, like his level 1 defense. I looked for his card because I haven't played he retired for me in 2000. I can't remember where I put his card.
I was going to grab my starter set, but I was having trouble getting my son to bed, so I didn't get a chance to grab them. Next week, I'll make sure I have everything.
I have 2 Massive cards. I got one signed by Chuck Carter. And I have my original and one I got from Chuck Carter. And but for me, Massive, he held every single one of my titles.
That's awesome.
He held the GWF tag title, the Intergalaxian with Chopper Matic. The GWF tag was with Pulsar Prime.
He was also the first special guest referee card that Filsinger Games published.
Yep. Now, I've never used that card because for me, it's one of those things where I'd never turn Massive bad. He's the Ricky Steamboat for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't picture him as a bad guy. And Mesmer's he's that evil magician guy, and I couldn't. I have issues with some of the storylines. I think that's why I never used it.
That makes sense. I have his official height and weight here. He is listed at 6'9.5" and 369 pounds. So you weren't far off.
No, but at 370 pounds, he wouldn't be moving that quick.
No. There are some new workout techniques in the 100 years in the future to give him some more agility.
And I remember because I used to have a watercolor set, and so Rob's sister worked at a place where she made photocopies, so she'd blow up all the pictures to 8x11s.
Okay.
And I'd paint them. And Massive. I had the long brown hair, and I had a big red shirt. And the ropes. There wasn't really much to him.
Yeah.
I figured, his tights. I figured he wore black tights. For me, he was just a black tight guy.
Mm-hmm.
And his shirt was just, red shirt or a blue shirt. It was just a sweatshirt he wore to the ring.
Yeah.
I didn't picture him as a lumberjack or anything like that.
He's a mountain climber.
Yeah. But yeah, and if there was any one thing I would have changed on his card, people are like, "Oh, always go for the finisher." But for me, if his level 3 defense in that one roll, if he could have kept the guy down,
Uh-huh.
I think that would have pushed him into the next level. Because being able to keep somebody down, you don't know how many times you're rolling level 3 offense and hit that one body slam.
Yeah. I hate that. That's kind of gone away in future editions. The level 2 move on level 3.
It was just so frustrating.
Yeah.
What did he do for you?
He didn't do a whole lot for me because, like I said, we were playing through so fast, trying to get caught up, and I regret that a lot because I feel like we missed out on a lot of early characters because when we jumped in, we had 20 years worth of history because they were doing 2 sets at the time. So we were just trying to play catch up, but we did some stupid stuff at the beginning because we didn't realize that it was a continuing storyline. We just thought like you bought the Fed, you bought your cards, your starter set, and then you just got the other cards and you used them however you want. And we started a group that was led by Omega. Massif was the bodyguard, and it was Thantos, Star Warrior, and who was the other guy? There's another bad guy, Exo King, and they were the legends of wrestling, and they became the super stable that was just taking over the GWF, and that's where we used Massif the most, my dad and I, and we had a lot of fun with it, and because when we started playing, I got it for my dad for Father's Day in '97, and we made it to Galacticon that year, and we played so much with those first 24 cards at first, and our Fed was a disaster. Some of the stuff we were doing because you know how back in the day you'd get the order form with your order, it would just have like a list of special edition cards. Yep. With no pictures, no context, anything like that, just like a list of names with a checkbox next to them. We just bought all of those because we thought they were just like free agents that you could bring into your Fed, not realizing that there's years you're supposed to use these guys and bring them in and stuff. But yeah, that was probably our biggest use of Massif. Was he was the muscle and bodyguard for Omega in our Legends of Wrestling team.
Did you end up restarting your Fed when you realized how badly you were screwed?
Yes, we did. But it just. But then that's when we started like speed playing, like trying to do like 12 cards a year, and we kind of lost a lot. So I really want to go back and play again someday whenever I get another additional 2 hours of my day somewhere. But
that's the thing when like Rob and myself, we go down to Jamestown every year, and Tom always gave a great deal. If you showed up at the convention,
oh yeah,
I think sets were only $5 or something like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous back in the day.
But because you were showing up, it was your bonus for showing up to the con. You gotta
right, and he had everything right there at his house.
Yeah, and you got a deal on the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finally broke down. I'm like, I'm gonna buy the sets, and I bought right up until the set when Bounty Hunter came out.
Okay.
Bounty Hunter, Mad Jester, and all that. And so I had one big, I think it was like 5 sets I bought.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I'm just going to run one big massive tournament. That's what my Fed's going to start right here with these 5 sets.
Uh-huh.
And I had Bounty Hunter win the heavyweight title.
Okay.
And I'm like, I didn't like Bounty Hunter. And then I had because the Gladiators had been redone then.
Yeah.
And so I remember I had so I had 2 Brute Massacre cards, one with the tag team and finish it, one regular. So I changed their names. I wanted as many wrestlers as I could.
Yeah.
And so I called them Sword. Brute was Sword, and Massacre was Dagger, and I called them the Lethal Weapons.
There you go.
And they feuded the other gladiators. They were good. They were good guy gladiators versus bad guy gladiators. And it was this whole crazy Massive mixed fed, and I played with him for about 6 months, and then I'm like, I'm missing the history. Like,
Yeah.
Santos should be, champion, and he wasn't. He had already been washed aside because the power creep had come in, and so I'm like, nope. I stopped, restarted, and I'm like, okay, my year's going to be 44 cards, and then after about 8 years of that, I'm like, I'm dropping it to 33 cards.
Yeah, it's a lot. About how many matches did you have per card?
I run 3 title matches, 3 feuds, and 4 regular matches.
Okay, so about 12 matches.
So
per card.
it's about 10 matches per card.
Okay, those are at least big cards, though.
Yeah, they're big cards. So everybody got to, So I always tried to keep the Fed around 40 wrestlers. Okay.
So everybody would at least get a shot once a month at something.
Yeah. So, and when guys weren't, I just pretended, they were off in different promotions.
That's a good idea.
And so, I could bring them in. So, I tried to always keep it around 40, and that's where I started running another side promotion.
Okay.
So I started running a promotion. I can't even remember it. And you pick up bootlegs along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had another series of side promotions. But for me, like I said, I tried to getting back to Massive. For me, he was the guy that a lot of the GWF was focused on. He was the hero. Star Wars was the big superstar. Omega was the aging veteran. Mm-hmm. Commander Sam was kind of a he had downgraded, but he was still the tough guy veteran. But mm-hmm. Massive was their tent pole.
Okay.
And so the FDF was the forefront of the heroes, and Massive was the tent pole where all the heroes kind of gathered around. If they needed help, he was the guy. Star Warrior needed help with fighting Thantos and whichever he had the Royal Quarter, the henchman.
Mm-hmm.
Massive was his backup. It's because after Star Warrior, it went Massive. You had choice between Massive or Commander Sam for a tag partner, because Omega.
Right. No,
they're not winning anything with Omega
unless you don't tag them in.
And so a lot of times it just became Massive was that guy, and I Massive was my guy.
Nice.
And I remember he was set to retire, and I followed I did follow the storyline. Okay, he retires in 2099 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he was so close to 100 victories.
Okay.
I think he had like 95 victories or 94 victories. I'm like, he's going to stay a bit longer, and he's going to make it known. As soon as he gets his 100th win, he's going to retire.
Okay, so that's cool.
It became a like a countdown. So the fans were getting, more and more fans were getting behind him as time went on. Mm-hmm. And when he finally got his 100th victory, I can't remember who it was against. It was just, the big sad farewell. I had all the heroes come down. And,
okay.
I think I even had Exo King.
That's cool. His rival.
Yeah. Because he was his rival for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And shake his hand, and that was, for me, that was a turning point to turn Exo King face.
Okay, because that did happen.
Yeah, and so, because when I book and build storylines, I don't book one card. I literally book years in advance, and how I'm gonna how I snake things through, and how I'm gonna book it. And I knew, when that ends, I'm gonna have Exo King come down. Exo King is gonna hear the cheers of the fans and like, hey, I kind of like this, and Exo King is going to turn his back on, and which happened the following year for me.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. So my guy that I wanted to discuss this evening was Comrade Terror. There are a couple reasons for that. Funny story, when my dad was so excited when he got this in the mail, the first introductory game set, and he had it all set up. Whenever we had a strike at school that year, so we were still in school into late June. So I had gotten it for him for Father's Day, and he got it in the mail, and I said, "Yeah, go ahead and open it if it comes." And so he had everything all set up for whenever I got home from school. And he hands me the cards. He's like, look at these. These are so cool. I start flipping through it. And for some reason, let me just start with, I'm a comic book fan for my entire life. Star Wars, I love. Sci-fi, I love all that stuff. When I'm flipping through the cards and I get to Comrade Terror, I'm like, this is so stupid. What's this lizard guy doing here? Like, what's the point of this, you know? So it was just very off-putting to me for some reason. I don't know why. But we played through the card that he had set up, and halfway through that first match that we rolled, I was hooked. I'm hooked for life now after that. And now Comrade Terror is one of my favorite characters. For me, he was always like the gatekeeper for Thantos. Like you had to get through Comrade Terror to get to Thantos. He was always just like that step ahead, step before Thantos. Like everybody would have to, get through him. And back to that story I was telling you where I would just order all the special edition cards. There was a Dreadnought special edition card. And I immediately, as soon as I saw it, when I got it, I'm like, oh, he kind of looks like Comrade Terror. So I made them a tag team and they won my titles.
Yeah, I loved his name right from the start.
Yeah, that's classic.
Like, that's a serious badass name.
Mm-hmm.
He had that whole Russian, comrade thing.
Yeah.
And I remember, like I said, I painted all of them, and I painted them a dark green.
Uh-huh.
My buddy Rob's like, I pictured him like an orangey yellow. And to this day, you will have people argue over what color he should be.
He's been green since they did the color sets. So you got that one.
But I know people who had him red, had him yellow, had him blue. I've seen, because he's a lizard. He literally could have been any color. Right.
He could even be a chameleon and change colors, maybe.
And he for me, he was always he was, like I said, the legit tough guy. His card, he had the +2 finisher. He had the A ring and ropes. I think he was a C and B as well, like C ropes or B death jump. But he could keep you down. His level 1 offense was a death jump, and he had 2 out of the ring. He was a brawler.
Yeah,
and that's what made him, for me, a great guy. And teaming him up with Executioner as a henchman.
Such a fun tag team.
I loved those guys as a tag team. They hands down. I wish they could have done more for me.
Yeah, because the Executioner was not very good.
No, he was a fun character. I'd put him in my top, out of that first 24, easily my top 3 Executioner.
Okay, cool.
And I'll, when we get to his spotlight, I'll discuss, what I do with him. But Comrade Terror held, I think, my Intergalaxian 5 times.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes as Comrade Terror, sometimes as, Dreadnought, because he evolved.
Right.
And
not the same guy, not 2 different people like I thought they were.
No. And but he captured, I think, the Intergalaxian tag with Tung Soon. He the TV champion a few times, the Intergalaxian. He fought for the GWF title a couple times, but just couldn't get that win. He just wasn't enough to push him over the top.
Same for me. He never won the big one, but he won my interplanetary title a couple times, and the my main tag titles with Tong Soon a couple times.
Yeah. And for me, because I now currently run three feds.
Okay.
I run the GWF, which is 40 guys. I run the NGA, and then I run CPC.
Okay.
And I run it like Premier League soccer. So every wrestler that enters in the CPC.
Okay.
Which is owned by Colby, Pelf. I kept that part of the storyline.
Okay.
The NGA, the New Galaxian Association, that's owned by Kraken and Lord Nexus.
All right.
So they run that. And the GWF is owned by Omega and Morpheus.
All right.
So that each of them have a good guy, bad guy owner. So that they have to keep each other in check.
Okay. I like that.
For Colby Pelf. And what happens is when you enter, the top 2 guys, because using the point system, move up. The top tag team moves up. And in the NGA, the bottom two wrestlers moved down, and the bottom tag team moved down.
Okay.
So the GWF, those top the bottom two guys drop down. Bottom tag team drop down. Now, if someone retires, I still send two guys down, but three guys get to move up.
Okay.
So it really shakes up my feds every year. I don't know now what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Forces me to team up with some guys. So, but he's still Dreadnought now. He's in his third incarnation, so he's on his bottom level.
Okay.
One more card is one where he could die.
What year did that one come out? He never died for me. He survived and just kind of died of natural causes.
Yeah, I've had that in my head. Am I going to let him die in the ring, or am I just going to have
2108 was the death card.
Yeah, he might, for me, retire before that, because right now he's in the CPC. He's a bottom tier guy. I think he's a 2-point guy.
Okay.
He's actually a hero. He's a face because he's just been around for so long. The fans are cheering him. He's
kind of like Iron Sheik, right?
Yeah, and he's teamed up with Dynamo of all people, and they're doing okay. And King Lear is their manager,
former Exo King.
Yeah, and he still wrestles on occasion with Killer Queen. So they're called the GWF Originals down there.
Okay, I like that.
And so they're in the bottom fed, and they don't win a lot. None of those guys do. The new power guys come in, and they usually just move up and on. None of those guys are gonna see any of the major. But right now, Comrade Terror or Dreadnought, he's down in that, slugging it out, feuding, whoever he can get a hold of. Like currently, I have his record here. He's got 12 countout victories, 11 DQ victories, 59 pin wins, and 2 submissions. But he's got 2 countout losses, 13 DQ losses, 2 double disqualification losses, 66 pin losses, and 5 submission losses. I'm very detailed when it comes to my one.
Wow. He ended up with like 50-50 booking there for you.
Pretty much. But it's catching up to him. At one point, he was he was he was a 70-30 for his wins, but now he's he only wins about 30% of his matches, and even against the lower tier guys, because he's got those 4 downs now. He can't keep guys down.
He's got a high pin too.
I think his finisher's only a +1 now. But he's the one character that does die in the ring.
Yeah. He mentioned in one of the handbooks during one of the press conferences, right? And then I think we kind of all convinced Tom at a Galacticon, like, hey, let's make that part of his shtick now. Like, he's going to die in the ring. So for anybody who doesn't know, there's actually a mechanic on his last card where if he loses, you roll on a chart, right? There's
it's a number. So on his down, he doesn't even have to lose.
It's just down. Okay. It's been a while since I've looked at it.
If you roll it, and then you have to roll like an 11 or 12. And
yeah.
He suffers a heart attack in the ring and dies.
So morbid.
It is, but it has happened in real life.
Yeah, it has. I
think that's how Iron Mike DiBiase died. Against Ox Baker.
Yeah.
He suffered a heart attack in the ring.
Right. So it can really happen, especially somebody as old as he would be at that time.
Yeah.
It would be over 20 years since he originally got his first card. So that's one thing I like about this game is that the characters age in real time. Some of them.
That's yeah. Don't get me started on Wolf.
Yeah, I'm not a Wolf fan. I get flack on the Facebook group a lot by talking smack on Wolf, but I've never been a Wolf fan. But I know a lot of people love him, so it's part of why I let my general dislike for Wolf known, just because I know other people love him so much. So
yeah, well, like I said, Wolf's one of those guys you love him or hate him.
Right.
There are people in the game that you can take or leave characters. I've had, we should probably be winding things down. I've had conversation with Tom even where he's hated characters he's created. He thinks they're great, and once they get printed and made, it's like,
Yeah.
he didn't like Vladhammer.
Mm-hmm.
He told me that on many occasions. He thought it'd be a great, have an Olympic wrestler.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it could be, an Olympic wrestler. This is way before Kurt Angle and all these.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like Brad Reynolds and Hodge and guys like that. He made him a Russian, but a horrible card.
Yeah.
Vladhammer was not, but it's one of those things where you have a real life amateur wrestler, Changing him, he became one of the stormtroopers with Chopper-Matic and
Yeah, what's his name? They both had new names, didn't they? He just became Hammer.
Yeah.
What did the other guy, Chopper, become?
I'm looking at it right here. Let's see if I can find it.
We're gonna have to do a whole episode one day on just the power creep.
Oh yeah. Oh, Powerhouse calls himself
Powerhouse. Yeah.
And they're in my CPC, and they're currently hold both because I have them as a +2 tag team.
Okay.
Which means they hold the Milky Way title, so they're a lower level tag title. But they captured the CPC heavyweight tag titles in a fluke win. So currently they're double gold.
Nice.
And it freaked me out when they won. I'm like, how are these? What?
I love when stuff like that happens. So
those are some of the things that make this game good. You can have your upsets.
Mm-hmm.
You can add house rules.
You're right.
I've added multiple house rules, and I've talked about it in different podcasts over there. The one house rule that Rob and myself created became almost the norm now.
Yeah.
The double DQ.
Mm-hmm. Any tournament you play, officially sanctioned Filsinger Games tournament, that rule was used every time.
And that started at the very first Canada Cup, which was Galacticon 2.
Uh-huh.
We said, because DQs, could happen so easily back then.
Right.
And we said, what we do is Rob and myself both roll. You got to fill your DQ twice. And that just, people are like, hey, that's a neat idea. And,
there's sometimes you can run a card and 75% of the matches will have a DQ.
Yeah.
It's happened to me so many times.
I'm not a DQ fan.
Mm-hmm.
But if it happens, it happens,
Right.
Somebody's a 6, you can get 2 low rolls. And, and the guys that are double ones, you're never going to roll 2 double ones in a row.
Right.
So those guys will never be DQ'd, but I can live with that.
Right.
Because they're not supposed to be, getting
right.
DQ'd.
That's why they have such a low one to begin with. So,
and even the guys who are 4s, I think I've only had a couple of those guys ever fail it twice.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a game mechanics. You can look at every card and go, this guy, could be better if you just change one thing. This guy could be better if you change one thing. Like Comrade Terror, I think with him, if you would have taken away one of his downs.
Yeah.
Like a +2 finisher is a solid finisher.
Especially then.
Yeah. 2 out of the rings. If he only would have had 2 downs, he would have been a beast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so many guys in that introductory set had really rotten level 3 defense.
Yeah.
By today's standards, of course. But then it's just the norm. But now you're lucky to find 2 downs on someone's level 3 defense today.
Yeah. That's like you said, that's a whole nother topic is the power creep. And I remember, when you first make your own characters, everybody made them, tough. You want your guys to win.
Right.
And I'd done the same thing, but then it dawned on me quickly after playing with them, where, I had one guy called him Howard, and he was killing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Santos, Star Wars, he's just cakewalking over everybody.
Right, right.
Maybe I made him too tough.
Uh-huh. And then nobody's using them for that
No.
reason. Yeah, we all did that.
And so then I started reducing guys, and I, like I said, I caught on quickly, and I'm like, the idea is to make a character that people will want to use.
Right.
And that's when I came up with, if you talk to Sam, Luptak, when I very first met him, he handed me his set, one of those sets, and I'm going through, I'm looking at the guys. He's like, "What do you think of it?" I'm like, "These guys are all horrible. I would never use them." And he got so mad at me, and I tried to, and then I gave him. I had a tag team called Sideshow, or now I call it Circle of Terror.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me and goes, "These guys suck." He goes, "They wouldn't win anything." I'm like, "Exactly."
Right. So when they do, it's a big deal. Right.
So they might get an upset win. They're a 50-50 tag team.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what you want. You don't want people coming in and just dominating.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while for Sam to. He said, he hated me for about a year or two because of that. and then it clicked on him.
Yeah.
Oh, because he realized, nobody's using my guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that became a big deal. I literally have about 300 or 400 characters that people give me over the years, and I literally went through them a little while ago, and there's probably about 30 I plan on using.
Yeah, I hung on to all that stuff myself, and I flipped through it not too long ago too, and it's just like, I think it was just the volume too, like that late 90s, early turn of the century stuff. Everybody had a set. Everybody, and then everybody had multiple sets after that, and then it's just like, I'm dropping $400 or $500 at Galacticon on bootleg sets that I'm never going to use, So, but it was fun. Like, I liked a lot of the ideas that some of the guys came up with.
Well, that's
tweak some things.
Yeah, so some of the characters as I looked through, I didn't like I may not like the character, like we can discuss bootlegs in another time, but you look at the characters and some of the ideas people have were great.
Yeah.
And
just to tweak it into how it will fit in your fed, how you could see that character.
And that's one thing I remember, and I discussed this on the Roll Up podcast. Was in the very first few Galacticons, Tom would come around and spend time with everybody and ask them how they're running their fed, which guys are doing good, because he really wanted the input as well.
Yeah.
And he really liked the fact that this guy's doing this for, and he'd be shocked when people, Creeper held my heavyweight title, and he'd be like, what?
That's not supposed to happen.
No, but people did have that happen, and not everybody, some people played the game wrong, like Rob and myself for years. We played for about 2 years. We played where the choice G's were literally choices. You could do the move, or you could put a person down.
Yeah.
So Phantos and Kraken were really tough.
Yeah, because there's no chance they're gonna that level 3. They're just stuck on it,
Because we're like, choice. Oh, that's my choice to do that move. Do I want to do it?
A lot of people did that, though. A lot of people still do that.
Because you look at it like, if I hit that D, I roll level 3 offense then. If I roll that 2 to 6, I roll level 3 offense. So it's a way for me to put it down. Or sometimes I could roll a death jump instead of doing that hurt 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the death jump because I'm going to keep you down. And, it's just one of those things where there was a rule wrong and no one realized, that rule got missed by a lot of people, but we played it for ages. Then as soon as we realized it was the right way to play it, we're like, this Kraken's no longer as tough as we thought he was.
The only way that you should ignore any of that stuff is if you ignore all the stuff in parentheses.
Yeah.
And then it still works because everybody gets dumbed down a little bit, but
it's like the two pins.
Right.
That higher pin you're not supposed to add.
It's
supposed to stay.
Right. Some of these guys, like the 4-1 guys, even a 4. I mean, that's going to be tough to hit without a finisher getting anything added to it as well.
Yep. And it happens.
Yeah. Just longer matches.
Yep. But
Good
we should
stuff.
wrap this up.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you everybody for joining us on YouTube. Please click that red subscribe button so you'll know when we drop our next video. If you have any topics you'd like us to discuss, or more specifically characters you'd like us to discuss, please drop a comment and we will try and get to all your characters, because we're never going to run out of characters, because there's literally hundreds of them and there's more every year. So we'll be doing this for a while, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, I would say we can be discussing bootlegs, we can be discussing legends, just
Indie
whatever
guys.
crosses my mind. Yeah, indies.
Yeah, there's so many cards. I like to do some set spotlights sometime too, for maybe some of the indie sets and stuff like that. Just go through and like, have we ever seen these guys wrestle? You know, kind of deal.
Yeah. Or
yeah, I think
for the actual indies.
Yeah.
some good stuff in there. Yeah, possibilities are endless. So let us know what you guys want to see. Leave us a comment and we'll try and keep this rolling, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, Kurt Campbell's already left a suggestion in the.
I saw that. He wants us to do Pit Viper.
Wants us to do Pit Viper.
All right, we can do Pit Viper.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks, Mike. This was fun.
Talk to you guys.
Good night.